Alright, so I played a game recently called Lord Winklebottom Investigates. Not a good game, nor a very interesting one. If I'm perfectly honest, the biggest draw is the British animal shtick, which is pretty much the only reason to play this. Didn't enjoy it very much, nor do I think it's a worthwhile game to buy and play. What is it about? I think if you look at the genre and the screenshots, then you'll know everything there is to know. A point and click about a giraffe detective, investigating the murder of an axolotl. By the way, fascinating animals. For a while I thought those were completely made up, but considering they are borderline extinct, that might not be too far from the truth. What did I enjoy? I don't know whenever to call it silliness or British humor, with a U, but that's pretty much the only part that I liked. Everyone is completely nonchalant even as they go around accidentally killing gardeners, stealing everything that isn't nailed down, committing sabotage and minor acts of terror. I do believe there isn't enough of this kind of humor in gaming, if I do say so myself. What did I dislike? But again, bearing that there is very little. The puzzles often don't make sense, there are steps added just to pad the game, the crucial dialogue options appear without any hints, and there's a lot of awkward moments where something is interactable but the characters refuse to do anything until the prerequisite happens. 3 is a lot, right? It's possibly more, but I sometimes stumbled into puzzle solutions by accident. Also, the hint system isn't anywhere near as helpful as I have hoped. I think Strangeland is a great example of how it should be done. A bit of asshole way to do it, but still, the game itself helps the player navigate the puzzles and starts vague with the hints, eventually spelling out the solutions if consulted repeatedly. Here it was stuck on vagueness, and generally only spelling out what was already obvious to begin with. So I will give an example. There is a pelican character who keeps taking things in her gullet. However, she has a hearing problems and refuses to try and listen to anybody. The player is then told, "Suppose we need the coins, old chap," and no more than that. The actual solution involves going to the attic, opening it with a crowbar from the submarine, then looking through various junk, doing it again, figuring out what it doesn't do anything. Then going to a drawing room and finding a gramophone, trying to detach a part of it, then going back to various junk, getting a small screwdriver from it, detaching the gramophone part, then giving it to the old dame. She'd then finally give the coins. The specific part I have a problem with is that screwdriver. There is no indication that it even exists, and no matter how much one looks at the source of it, it doesn't appear until the gramophone is interacted with in a specific way, which again doesn't have an indication of having separate parts. Then there's the mystery itself, which was kind of boring. I feel like these stories are more fun when it's down to earth and have logical solutions. I kept thinking it's all about the inheritance. Instead it's this... Okay, I won't spoil it, but it's just bigger than I wanted it to be, with secret societies and mad scientists. This sort of thing is cool when there's a whole series of games, and this is a storyline which is carefully hinted upon over time. Instead, it just goes from 0 to 100 on a dime. When it turns out that even instead of 100, it's only like a 10, and it fizzles out at the end. Also, the voice acting was clearly amateur, and I'm sure I'm guilty of it myself, but it doesn't mean that it excuses anyone else from it. The delivery is all over the place, way too fast, as if afraid that if they stopped talking, the people would lose interest. And I was taken out of the moment so fast that I turned it off. I believe it's a bit of an insult, and I believe the last time I have done this was with Metro 2033, because of the unbearable Russian accent with every single line. I mean, because of the unbearable Russian accent with every single line. I didn't want to hear the native language either, so I was there with just subtitles. All of this is a shame, of course, as I have seen Sally Beaumont in the credits after the fact, and I didn't even get to any female characters before turning off the voice acting. Oh well, I won't play just to hear her. Also, the game is strangely mean. Like I said, the player murders the gardener, accidentally but still. There is 0 remorse. He's a bit of a dick, but come on, that's no excuse. The end too. There's a bound character who has a gag removed by the player. The problem is that he's still bound, just not gagged anymore. And after everything ends, he's still there, bound, stuck, alone. What the hell was that? But probably the biggest insult was the little comment about how the toilet paper should be placed. The sheer lunacy was beyond comprehension, and I dare say make this game a travesty in my eyes. The gall, The arrogance with which the line is delivered is of savouring the amount of rage and loathing it would induce. I cannot abide by such a shabby, low-brow schadenfreude. It is, and will be, a poxmark upon this miserable creation.